Hello, welcome back to another Expert Style Lounge. I'm excited to be back with my crew, Courtney Robinson, Amanda Wood, and myself. We are excited to be with you again with a new topic this week. And this might be a little bit of a controversial one, maybe. It's
I
like,
think it might be.
because it talks about, how you're showing up in the workplace. So this might get you thinking there. How much skin
hmm
is too much skin at the office? And are you dressing yourself out of a job? So
hmm
some things to think about today in our conversation. We're excited to get into it. And Amanda's going to kick us off. Passing the
Love
mic to
it.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So today we're very excited to chat about this, and we're going to cover a bunch of topics. So we're going to do a part one and a part two. And I apologize for the Mercury retrograde and my technical difficulties, and that my background is not showing up. So just
All
wanted to
good.
let you all know that. But yeah, so today we're going to cover like the interview process, dressing for the interview process. Are you dressing yourself out of a job before you get in the door? And also, too much skin, the before and after, and then talking a little bit about our awesome Gen Zers that are coming into the career, coming into and having that interview. So I wanted to read a little bit that's on my other monitor. So I apologize for looking over here a little bit, but I wanted to bring up some stats and bring up some history because we all know that I love some fashion history. So without further ado, stats. So Forbes has reported that 20% of job seekers are denied based off of their look, aka their fit. So this is literally your personal style is having a conversation with your possible employer before you even open your mouth. You might be, walking in the door, they've made their decision, they're having a polite conversation with you, and you were never going to get hired. So that's huge. And then EarthWeb is stating 25% of interview failures are estimated due to improper dressing. So this could be, a whole range of things. This could be, unfortunately, a little bit too much skin. This could be you just missed the ball and you just didn't get the dress code notes that might have been sent over in the interview package. Maybe not, but we're going to chat about it. And the last one, and this one was huge, economic times. 43% of candidates don't dress appropriately. So that is huge. So breaking all these stats down, all these numbers down, it kind of in a way boils down to like 1 out of 2 job applicants currently in 2025 are not showing up for interviews in appropriate attire. So we're going to talk about interview attire for just coming into the workplace, and we're going to talk about, interview attire when you've been there for a bit and you are going for that up level, that promotion, that next goal in your achievement of your career. And you may or may not feel that, I've been here for a minute. I've earned this. Like, I deserve this job promotion. And then you go to that interview for that next level, but unfortunately you've dressed yourself out of being promoted only for the fact that you felt that like you had already earned it and didn't have to show up as your best, representing yourself through clothing as your best. So to get into that, and I apologize for so much of an intro, so much talking in the front, but just a little bit of background, a little bit of fashion history. So we found that in the 17th century, men's modern suits origins began, and it started in 1811 to 1820, to be really specific, by Beau Brummel. So he refined and created the suit pretty much of what we know today, and it hasn't really changed since then. And then it was brought in during the Victorian times that the darker colors were kind of like the established look for gentlemen. And we, as you can see, when Obama wore a tan suit, the internet and the world's collective mind exploded. That just couldn't be. So it's been since the 1800s that the darker suit for gentlemen for interviewing and for workplace had been established. And then, 1950s, we saw, the conservative standard interview look created. So it's been since the 1950s that this has been like ingrained. So maybe that's another great talking point for us. Is Gen Z going to change a lot of this once a lot of, the generations that started this, that know this, it's going to change? And I would love to hear you ladies' thoughts on that. And then 80s, we had power dressing. And then it was the 90s that gave us Casual Friday. And then we all know that Zuckerberg gave us the hoodie and the blazer, the tech outfit that then was established.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all have lived through a wonderful pandemic. So that just changed everything for everybody in so many ways, of dressing for Zoom and in your pajamas on the bottom. So no wonder so many people may or may not be dressing themselves out of a job, because we've gone through so much. We have, established dress codes from the 1800s and the 50s that we haven't really left yet, but the pandemic changed a lot. And now we're just confused. So with all of that said, I would love to just get you ladies' thoughts on what you feel should change. Should we stay with the interview attire that we kind of established in the 50s? Or do you think the world is ready for something a little bit different, but still respectful? And obviously we have to talk about different industries. The interview attire might be different. So I'd love to just hear your open thoughts about all of that.
I think that standards have changed, so we have to adapt, just like we do, right? Throughout the years, if you look at fashion, it has evolved, right? So it makes sense that we have to evolve. We can't expect people to really dress the same way pre-COVID to now. And that being said, I've said this before, if you're listening, you've definitely heard me say this, but there's a difference between dressing up and dressing better. And sometimes people think that what we three do is make you dress up. And that's actually not
I hear that often.
Right. It's about dressing better. So it depends on your industry. It depends on what you do for a living. It depends on your role, your title. Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a business owner? Or are you working in a company and they have some standards, some kind of, dress code of sorts. And most of the time it's just business casual and people don't know what that means. So it's up to you to figure out, are you going to be that person that's going to step up and be known as the person that actually puts an effort in every day? You're going to be the person that people go, oh, wow, that person always, dresses well. Or are you going to be the person that they look at and say, that's the person that never puts an effort? They
and it will translate to your work product.
It translates to your work. Literally, my client said that. She was like, I don't want to be known as the person when they look at that they say, oh, wow, she doesn't really put in an effort. So how does that translate into her work? Because that's what they're thinking and not saying. So I'll pass the mic.
No, I love all of that. What resonated with me is the fact that, yes, standards have changed, but what hasn't changed is that your message and your image need to align, right?
Yes.
Exactly what you said. What exactly do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known as the person who doesn't show up well? Or do you want to be known for the person who is brilliant and everything that comes out of, everything that comes out of their mouth matches how they show up? So I think there just has to be alignment in that way. That hasn't changed. We all have a personal brand, and it's about knowing how to show up in a way that whether you're quote unquote dressed up or dressed down, that you're still aligned with your personal and or professional brand.
Mhm.
And these days, I think both your personal and professional brand, you know, there's not really a line, right? They kind of
Right.
overlap,
Yeah.
if
And
you will.
so
Yeah.
true, Courtney. And I love that because I, mentioned this in my newsletter beginning of this month, is that you are your brand. Your brand is you. People buy from people. Again, that's not like
Yes.
really technically the workplace, but so many people now are like buying from brands that they understand they like their morals, they like their ethics, they like the way that they do business, and it can so easily translate to the workplace, so that you are representing yourself in your own little bubble of like you or your brand at work, giving out your best input, your best work product, and people are going to take all of that into account. And we could get in also that employers may or may not be taking like all of your social footprint into account, especially when they're thinking about hiring you. But it's like it's all encompassing now. It's something that we now have to think about. And I love when I work with my clients, especially my branding clients, of talking about like it's now a whole bit wrapped up in one, and you have to think about like all of these different pieces at once.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah, I think in this season we're very relational, and how you show up builds trust with people, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you're interviewing and you show up in a way that maybe doesn't resonate, maybe you're going to be client facing, perhaps. And so they're looking at you from that aspect, like, if this was a client, would they show up like this, and that type of thing.
Exactly.
So it's like establishing a standard and then knowing that you can flex up or down, as you need to, right? But first you have to establish that trust. And
Exactly.
you can do that by how you show up, what your
Yep.
image is. So
Your image is more than what you wear. It's how
Yes.
you act. It's your body language. It's your digital presence. It's what we call the ABCDs, right? And when you come to an interview, you've already shown them before that you are a potential fit for this job because you have the credentials. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gotten the interview. Okay.
Right.
You don't get an interview if they don't think you have credentials. So at that point, that's out the door, right? They know you got it. The paper looks good. You look good on paper. You get to the interview, now the ABCDs really come into play because they're sizing you up. Are you a fit for this company? Are you going to match the culture? Are you going to match our brand aesthetic? Are you going to fit? You're going to be a team player. They're thinking about all that stuff, right? And what you wear, to how you speak, to like your body language. And yes, believe me, they've checked you out on social media too.
Absolutely.
The ABCDs are the most important thing, because that's what's really going to help you then land the job and who you're competing with, because they had interviews with other people that are potential candidates. So you have to think about that. Or how are you going to get a leg up on the competition? Because you're now competing for that job. They got one job, they want one person for the job, and they're interviewing other people. So think about how you're going to stand out. And of course you're going to show up with really putting your best foot forward. We hope so.
That's right.
It's more than your credentials at that point.
Right. Exactly. What sets you apart, but also what makes you memorable, right?
Yep.
I have been on many interview committees where afterward, everyone who's been a part of it, especially if it's
gives
multiple
remarks.
people interviewing you, you all get together in this room, whether it's virtual or in person, and you talk about the candidates, right? And you talk about all these different dynamics that Tavia just brought up. And we're essentially ranking you against these people, right? So you have to show up in a way that makes you more memorable, that distinguishes you from the pack.
Right.
And
and I didn't mean to cut you off. Do you have more on that? I'm sorry.
No, I mean that's the bottom line.
Yeah, big time. And I
Yeah.
think, sorry,
Go ahead.
like as we were talking about in the beginning of like things progressing, like it's no longer like the 1800s, it's now 2025. But I do feel like, especially for the interview process, certain things I feel are going to stay. And it's that respect level. And that, Courtney, while you're in that room, chatting about each of the clients, is like who showed up and respected the company and respected themselves. And I feel like certain people may feel like I don't have to dress up in a suit anymore. But then, especially for some industries that are very, suit laden, especially I'm going to say, the banking industry, I don't think that that's probably ever going to, really get super casual. But that, certain people, when they show up, they're saying, I'm showing up as my best self. I'm popping on something that I feel super confident in, and I'm giving the company that respect, showing them that I'm excited. And I feel that, per your industry and per what type of job you're going for, that, some type of, suit, to just a blazer or something, or a gorgeous blouse, or, a great shirt and sweater is the best way to go. Because I would always, for me, err on the side of caution of dress up a little bit, possibly too much, but you're only going to impress them that you care that much.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say that, so we were really talking about people interviewing for a job within a company. Well, what about entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
Every
Yep.
new potential client is a job interview. Okay.
Absolutely.
So every
Yeah.
time you're meeting with somebody new, or you're putting yourself out there on social media, you are setting a standard for who you are and how you do business and how you run your business. And it's all about somebody saying, is this person the right person? Do I want to give them my money? Do I want to
Right.
spend money on this person? You're competing with other people that do something similar to what you do. And so you're always going to have to be thinking about how you show up with the ABCDs, because it matters. It could make or break whether or not you get that new client or new job, consulting gig, whatever it is that you do. Right. So I think that's also a job interview and you have to be thinking about that too.
So true.
It is. It is. And I've heard, people in the entrepreneurial space say, oh, my clients don't care how I show up.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
I beg to differ, right? They
I
do.
totally
They're
agree.
looking for you to be something that they're aspiring to, right? And if
Right.
I doubt it, if you look worse than they do
Right.
in terms of how you're showing up, that's not a good look. So, but again, I think people have this misconception about what this all means. It doesn't mean you have to be in a suit and a tie or dressed to the nines. It just means that you need to show up put together, right?
Yep.
Yes.
That could be different in every industry.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there is a foundational understanding of how you should show up. And if you're confused about that, you definitely need the help of a stylist, right?
Yes.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to say that's what we do, because, Amanda was saying, oh, you should be wearing this or that, right? But you might not know the difference between this or that. Like, is a
True.
sweater a sweater? No. Is a blazer a blazer? No, because we're here to teach you about fit, about silhouette, what works for your body, what colors work best for you. And you may not know. So you may be thinking, oh, what, Amanda, I am wearing a sweater and a really, good looking pair of slacks, right? But that might not be the right thing for you because it may not fit right. The silhouette could be wrong. The color could be wrong. And it making you look unprofessional, unpolished, frumpy, whatever, right? And so you may not even realize that it's actually hurting you more than it's helping you. And that's where we come in and really help you get clear. And we teach, how you should be wearing clothes that represent your best self, align with your personal brand, and
Authentic
communicate,
to you.
right? Authentic, and exactly authentic. They feel like you,
Yep.
and they change. They also change your mood. It's not just
Big
perception,
time.
right? It's also how you feel in your clothes. That makes a huge difference in your energy and the
Absolutely.
type of people that you're going to attract,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's a job, whether it's getting promoted, which we'll get into in part 2. But that's really what I wanted to say before we wrap up. Amanda,
Yeah.
you had something else you wanted to add?
And it's just, for me, it's so crazy that, like, there's so many subconscious cues that some of us might not realize that we are speaking so loudly, and so many people, you might pop on, an outfit that you feel is great, and somebody might have like a slightly different reaction to it. And I'll use, for me, a suit as an example, but if I were to wear this red blazer and then popped on a full red suit, and it would depend on what type of interview I was going for, because if I might be going for a creative director of, Valentino, and this is my, best closeness to, Valentino red, and I was going in, they were like, oh, she took notes. This is awesome. Like, we're kind of excited. Power move, power play, love it. But then if I were to show up at just, a banking position, and I apologize if the banking world is like, stop using us as an example, I apologize. But it's just like social cues, social society, it's just a little different. They might be like, whoa, wow, red, why did we go with this choice? Why didn't you talk to somebody before you came in here? Because it is just such a difference of the quiet cues and subconscious verbalization that you are verbalizing to, a possible employer, to others that, see you, might be networking as an entrepreneur, trying to get that next client. And then I can also use this blazer, this, color of red, great for interviewing, because I wear this purposely so that people will come up and chat with me because I stand out and I am not blending in. So it definitely, many things that we've talked about before is thinking about, your personal style, what industry you're going for, the enclothed cognition with everything, and just the subliminal cues that you're giving off. It's all of everything that, especially if you're going for that interview, that first impression, that you really have to take a moment and just like knock out of the park, get a few people's, thoughts on this, hire a stylist. We all work virtually and in person, and we're your best advocate, and we will help you take the stress away, help you get that, new position, and help you just feel amazing and look amazing and knock it out of the park. And before we wrap up, Tavia, I would love for you to talk a little bit, like you've passed the interview, and this will kind of be a great segue to like lead into part 2. But if you could mention the halo effect that we were talking about before, if you could give like a quick definition, and then we'll each chat about it. So this will be for, when you're at the company and you've been there for a minute.
Yeah, the halo effect is essentially, it's like what you wear and how you present yourself, and it's putting a perception or an image in someone's mind of how they're basically interpreting you. So, if it's a positive image, right, which is what we help you do, create that positive image, then people automatically see you and think, wow, this person, they're more attractive looking, they dress well, they look the part, then they're going to be better at the job. They're going to be better in their role, or I can trust them. They're credible. And that's essentially what the halo effect is.
Yep.
And I think that's really cool, because that's what we help you do,
Yeah.
and you may not realize, but it does happen subconsciously, within a blink, within a snap, people judge, it goes into the subconscious. And it's just like when we see any kind of image, right? We have a reaction or a we put meaning to it, right? And you're not any different, especially because we're walking billboards of our brand. We have to be thinking about that. And one other thing I wanted to say to what you were saying, Amanda, is that I see a lot of people who maybe haven't dressed up in a while. They'll go and pull like a suit out of their closet, and they're like, oh, I should dress up for this event or dress up for this interview. And they pull something out of the closet that actually it doesn't look good. They're like, oh, but I should wear a suit because that's what I'm supposed to wear, right? But that suit is outdated. It's the wrong color. Like I work with a lot of men, a lot of male clients, and a lot of them think like black is the thing to wear. And I'm like, no. First of all, you already look outdated out of the gate, because people know what feels current and what looks good. And that black makes you look like you're working in a funeral parlor, you're a chauffeur.
Again, not typecasting an industry, but
I mean, that's true. Or you're a waiter, you know, you work in the restaurant industry. No, we can't be wearing the wrong colors anymore, or bad fit. You know how many times I've been to events or networking, or I've been in rooms full of people that are wearing ill-fitting suits. It makes me so upset, because I'm like, this actually is hurting more than helping you, because you thought the suit was going to help you. It doesn't help you. Fit is a big one, and you're wearing some old, outdated, ill-fitting suit to your job interview or your networking meeting. It is helping. It is not helping. It is hurting your business. It is hurting you on that interview. So a lot of this is subconscious. I will say, 'cause nobody's going to say to your face, hey, dude, that's a really ill-fitting suit that you're wearing, so you're not going to get the job. Or I'm not going to hire you. Nobody's going to say that to you. But we're here to tell you the truth, because we want to help. And so I know we want to wrap it up, because this is part 1, but I hope this was a good segue. We talked about a lot of things here. We would love to have your feedback. If you want to drop them in the comments below. What stood out? Do you have any questions? We're happy to answer them. And look out for part 2, because we're really going to get into this even more, dressing on the job and for the next job. And also how much skin is too much skin.
Right. We're going to get into it, and we're going to dip into the TikTok trend of the office siren, aka don't listen to TikTok. Don't do that.
Please don't.
We're getting
TikTok.
into it.
Okay. We're getting into it. Okay. Until next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.